John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast, in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast. Hey, John.
Hey, Kevin.
I was going to say, hey, John, why don't you take the first word for this podcast? But then I would have been taking the first word.
Right.
Would not have made sense. Hey, I just realized, this is one where we are honoring the theme song a little bit, kind of unintentionally.
Yeah, we are.
The theme song says that Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio.
Yeah, I mean, you also did just run around Chicago with it, too.
I did. And it, without bragging, it got a lot of compliments, especially at Wrigley Field. It was... I'm glad I had that, because they were nice anyways with my Dodger jersey, but they were even nicer. Like, they were like, oh, I can't get mad at someone with a mustache like that. You know, and again, I don't mean that boastfully. It's just so nice that they were accommodated in that way.
Really, it was because I was standing next to you. And
you were my security? Is that what you're saying?
Pretend security.
Yeah, this episode is all about mustaches, and it is actually honoring the 10th anniversary of my mustache. That is why we're doing this today. My mustache turned 10 years old. I think actually, as of recording this, I don't know the exact date, but I think it's May 12th. So not too far off from when this episode goes live. It's been 10 years since I've had this on my face, John. How long have you had your beard, out of curiosity?
It's been shaved off a couple times. And by a couple, I mean like twice.
Oh, okay. Since you were 12?
Since high school.
High school. So you've been able to grow a beard since high school?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And since then, it's only been shaved off twice in your life?
Yeah. I mean, it's gone down into like a goatee with a, mustache. It's not been a full beard the whole time, but...
In fact, I think because we, John and I went to Manchester College in Indiana for a semester together. John graduated from there. I want to say in that yearbook, there's a picture of you where either you don't have it, or you just have like sideburns, or you just have the goatee. It's something like that.
Yeah, that might have been when I did mutton chops.
Yeah.
For I was doing the opera workshop.
That's what it was, and it was kind of shocking. And in my head, I was like, "Oh, John doesn't always have the mustache," but that was a very rare the beard. But that was a very rare time that you didn't.
Yeah.
I am in admiration of your beard, because I cannot grow a full beard. I can grow a little goatee on the chin, and I've done that before. But I just grow patchy on the side. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can barely see it. But that's what you got there, is the little soul patch.
Yeah, tell us what you're showing.
I think this was just like activity fair, like in the fall of 2005 at Manchester. They would take your picture and then make mouse pads out of it. Yeah. And so it's a picture of me, Kevin, and our friend Jesse doing the Captain Morgan pose.
So funny and random. Like, why were we doing that pose? That was such a college thing to do.
Well, that was their big commercial at the time too. Them just doing that. So.
It's like 1 foot up, and we weren't even putting our foot on anything. It was literally in thin air. But we do look very in sync. Like we could be we could be in sync, for example, the band, or we could be like synchronized swimmers. And then I just had this little. It's not quite a soul patch is when it's just below the lip, but it was it's the little chin goatee, because that's all I could grow at the time. I couldn't grow the mustache then. I was like, look at my facial hair, everyone.
You know what's funny is between the times that when we first started hanging out and last weekend, the only times you'd seen me was with long hair. Because I just cut my hair a few days before I came out to Chicago.
You're right. Yeah. And the hair looks good, by the way. John got a haircut. It looks great. So John's got short hair. He's got a 17-year-old mouse pad. And we're doing a quiz on my mustache specifically is what I'm going to be quizzing John on. I got 5 questions prepared about my mustache, because there's 10 years of history there. So I got plenty to quiz you on. And you got what? Mustache history?
Yep. Or mustache facts,
I'm very excited for the mustache facts, because I have a mustache. I don't know if I know a lot about mustaches, so I think that's what we're going to find. We're going to find out if I lack genius on mustaches is what we're going to do. Tidy up before we go any further with the show. Tidy up before we go. Fix our mistakes tonight. I want to get it right. Tidy up. You got anything to tidy up in your life, John?
Yeah, I mean, I know we kind of apologized on it on the socials, but last weekend when we were in Chicago, we put a poll out there as to where we should eat, and overwhelmingly people said we should go to Gino's.
Yeah, Gino's or Giordano's was the vote.
Yeah,
was the choices.
We could have had Lou Malnati's, but to be honest, when I created that post, I forgot about Lou Malnati's.
You're not saying Illuminati. When you told me that, I was like, Illuminati? There's a place called Illuminati, and no, it's Lou Malnati's.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And, we were originally going to go back down to where Kevin's hotel was and eat around there, which in that case, we would have gone to Gino's. But Kevin called an audible and was liking Wrigleyville and wanted to stay up there. And so we went to Giordano's only because that was in walking distance, where Gino's was a couple of miles away at that point.
Yeah.
So next time, we'll go to Gino's.
Yeah, next time we'll listen to you. Oh, you made a good point. We listen to you, we just don't do what you tell us to do.
Exactly.
I do feel bad because it feels like as an entity of a podcast where we have an audience, we have listeners, we should, if we're saying we want your opinion, we should take it. So we do apologize. But the whole reason that I went to Chicago was to go to Wrigley Field, and it was like, the game went by super fast. I was like, why would we leave this right now? And to be honest, John, I'm really glad we didn't listen because, at the restaurant itself, there were Dodger and Cubs fans. It was it still felt like the energy and the pizza was phenomenal. Like, it makes me excited to try Gino's if supposedly it's better, because Giordano's, that was amazing. I didn't think I'd like deep dish pizza, and then I had that and it changed my life. It was so good. And I was telling you the other day, John, obviously big Dodger fan. I was watching the Dodger channel here, and two of the players, Alex Vesia and Tony Gonsolin, on their day off in Chicago because they got rained out on Friday, they went to Lou Malnati's, if I'm saying it right, and got to each make a deep dish with the owner, and they went through the instructions. It looked super cool and super fun. And B, oh my God, I was sitting there, I was actually at work, and I was like, I'm so hungry, I want a deep dish right now. So,
and I could be wrong, Kevin, but I think you can have Giordano's shipped to you.
Ooh!
Yeah, it's like $85 for two of them.
Worth it. It's time to take a quiz or two. Like a genius podcast doing this for you. You may fail, but it ain't no lie, baby, it's quiz time. Don't really want this quiz to be tough. I just want to pass one cause I failed enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie, baby, it's quiz time. Why don't we have you ask the first question about mustache history?
That's my thinking.
That you were on the same page. Good. I like when we're on the same page. And I'll take a quick moment to just acknowledge that the reason I know this is not in the quiz, the reason I know that this is the 10th anniversary of my mustache is actually kind of a sad reason. And so it's always a little awkward to tell this story, but I'm just it's because it was the day of my grandpa's funeral. My grandpa passed away in 2012. And I remember that around that time, I was thinking about growing back my mustache because I had it briefly for I had it for like 8 or 9 months, and then shaved it and didn't have it for a year, and then was like, I really miss it. And when my grandpa unfortunately passed away, I was like, well, I can't have like a dirty beginning of a mustache at his funeral. So the last day that I shaved my upper lip was for my grandpa's funeral. And yes, it's a sad story, and I'm acknowledging it, but I also appreciate that fact because it reminds me of my grandpa now. It's sort of I won't go as far to say as it's an homage to him, but it sort of is. And in that same vein, my dad has had a mustache his entire life, never had the curls like mine, but it's sort of an homage to my dad as well. My dad's alive and well, but it's sort of cool that it gets to like link me back to the male side of my family that is, that I love and admire. So my dad one time shaved his mustache, and it was on a vacation, and I'll never forget it because A, it scared the crap out of us kids. We were like, who are you? But B, he'd had it for so long that it was just a white upper lip. It was it was a bad tan, and I guarantee if I shaved mine today, I'd have the exact same thing. And so,
I mean, I would too if I shaved my face.
The bottom half of your face would be like see-through. Yeah. One of these days we'll shock each other, John.
Maybe.
I just wanted to get that out. It's a celebration. We're celebrating 10 years of mustachdom, and John's going to get us started by quizzing us on some history.
So your first question,
Bring it.
what does the original word for mustache mean in Greek?
Wow.
So we're going back to the very beginning of the word, the etymology of the word mustache. It comes from the Hellenistic Greek, which is just a time period. So does it mean lip hair, upper lip, handlebar, or hair?
What a great question, John. I never thought about why mustache, and I get it. It's not necessarily that mustache means this, but the origin of the word. It is also interesting, and I noticed that you've spelled mustache the same way I have, Mustache, because it's actually interchangeable with the Moustache, mustache. I don't know if that's going to have any bearing on this or going to come up in the quiz later, but
No, that spelling with the O is just the French.
is that it? But it's funny because I've looked it up because I have a mustache. I'm like, what is the proper spelling? And at least according to the probably one of the dictionaries, one of the English dictionaries, it is interchangeable. But it's because one comes from the French and one does not.
Right.
Okay, well, back to this question. What does mustache, the original word for mustache, mean? Lip hair, upper lip, handlebar, or hair? I don't think it's handlebar because that seems way too current of time. I really want to pick lip hair, but I'm going to go way more broad and just say that it means hair and say that that's where the original origin came from. And let's see if I got it right. I'm going to go with hair. I tried to outsmart you.
It means upper lip.
It does mean upper lip. So it has nothing to do with hair, just upper lip.
I mean, it's mustache, which, according to this, is meaning upper lip or possibly facial hair. And it's probably derived from another word, mullen, Mullon, which just means lip.
Okay.
So
What was the first word you said? Motach?
mustache,
Mustache.
Mustax.
Mustache. Mustache is a solid word, but mustache, that is cool.
And I'm probably mispronouncing it, but mustachio is Italian. Yeah, so we got mustache, and then without the O, mustache with an O is French, which is derived from the mustachio.
Mustachio.
And which comes from the medieval Latin of mustachium, and so on.
Those are all very solid words. Mustachium, mustachio,
Right.
mustachio is in our song. So that's what'd you say? Italian. Yeah. That's the Italian version is in our song. I also have another song. It's not complete. It's about nuts. I know that, like peanuts, almonds, all these things. And I say my name. It's a rap, and my name's Ranger Gouda, and I am mustachioed. I like to eat peanuts and also pistachios. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, mustachioed normally refers to someone with a particularly large or bushy mustache.
Interesting. So if you just had like a comment, I mean, that's sort of mine, right?
I mean, someone's either mustached or mustachioed.
All right, so I think I can accurately describe myself as mustachioed.
Yeah, I'd say so on the smaller end of the.
You are absolutely right. In fact, one of the very common questions I get out and about on the street is, "Do you enter it in those competitions?" And I'm like, no, because if you go to those competitions, these things are huge and crazy and have like 8 legs coming out of them. And yes, mine can hold its own out in public, but I could show up at that and probably fit in, but I could not compete. I could not compete with those serious mustachios.
I mean, it's possible that depending on how you style your mustache.
Yes, I've thought about this.
I don't think size is necessarily everything.
You're right. In fact, that's part of honestly, the more length you have, the more you can do. But also, it also seems to be the amount of the bushiness of it, like the density of it.
I mean, you've got. According to the World Beard and Mustache Championships, there are 6 subcategories for mustaches.
All right. Well, maybe I'll do a deep dive into that and figure out which one is my best path and consider it. Man, John, we're one question in, and you've just educated me so much on mustaches. All right, you ready for the first question about my mustache?
Sure.
I'll tell you what. I had a ton of fun putting this specific question together. So here's what I did: is I polled 30 of my family members and friends, and I asked them, how many individual hairs do you think are in my mustache? Okay, so the question isn't, John, how many hairs do you think are in my mustache? The question is, based on this poll of 30 of my family and friends, people who know me well, and I sent them a picture, and I was up close, and it was unwaxed. And in fact, I'll get close so you can kind of see, John. But Yeah, I asked them how many hairs do they think they are. I took all those answers. I got an average. What was the average guess? Was it 491, 991, 1491, or 1991? So they go up by 500 increments. 491, 991, 1491, 1991.
I'm just going to guess 1491.
1491, you're throwing one out there. You think
Yep.
Are you basing that on anything? I mean, you just think that's what people would guess, or?
I'm just guessing.
All right, John, 1491. That is incorrect. It was 991, which I have to say is probably very close to accurate. In fact, what I decided because I did this all via text, what I decided is whatever the average answer is now science that's how many hairs my mustache has. So 991 exactly. I'd like to thank everyone who participated. And in terms of this podcast, we had several former guests, including Bed Magnet had a guest, Jeff McAvoy, our Bigfoot expert Devin, our D&D expert Julian, several of our patrons. And I just want to share a couple people's processes, including my friend Greg, who came on for the Frisbee episode. He was very methodical about it, and he looked at he estimated about 20 hairs per cubic centimeter, and he took about a 2.5 centimeter space. Multiplied that by 5 centimeters of my total mustache and came up with 250, which was a little bit lower than 991, but that was his theory. I had my friend John, who actually may be a future guest for us. Not spoiler alert, but a little tease. He said, "Let me Google how many hairs are in Mr. Pringle's mustache for reference." He came up with nothing. And my cousin Alexa, who is always so hilarious, she was like, "Well, I have 50 mustache hairs myself, but it's not as dense as yours, so I'm going to multiply that by 10 and get 500." So yeah, there was a lot of good stuff. And I'll shout out quickly that my mom was the closest guess with 1,001, and the total was 900. She was only off by 10, but without going over, it was my friend Mike Moretti who guessed 888. So there's all the facts you need about my mustache poll for you're set for life now.
Well, speaking of mustache pulls, if you ever decide to get rid of the mustache, you'll just have to pull it out hair by hair and count.
There it is. Because I had several people ask me, like, are you going to count it? And I sort of joked that I needed like these goggles that let you look like if you're doing like models or whatever, like little miniature things. I'd have to get somebody to do that with tweezers, but you're absolutely right. The best way is just count and lay each one out and
like lay them out like, hash marks, and then, every fifth one, put it angled over them.
Oh, yes, like a tally. There'll be little tallies. Oh, my God, John. All right. In fact, because you came up with this idea, you were the person that is designated to doing that. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but down the line, you're going to be the man doing that for me.
Okay.
That's hilarious. All right. So we are both 0 for 1 to start.
Yep.
All right. Bring it on for number 2 on mustache history.
So what ancient civilization is first documented as having mustaches?
Wow.
The Greeks, the Romans, the Celts, or the Germans?
Oh, I love this. It's so interesting to think about documentation of mustaches, and I'd be so curious what this documentation looked like. Like at what point did somebody write down the hair on our upper lip protected us from the severe weather, or like, I think Egyptian is not a choice, but you think about hieroglyphics, and if there are images that portrayed some kind of mustaches, these are just all random guesses, but which ancient civilization first documented mustaches? So we got Greeks, Romans, Celts, or Germans. It's hard not to choose either Greek or Roman, but I'm going to choose Celts just because I think about that region of the world and mustaches just pop out to me. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to say Celts. All right.
Yep.
Tell me about it.
So it was actually a Greek historian documenting about the Iron Age Celts. Specifically, what he wrote was, the Gauls are tall of body with rippling muscles and white of skin, and their hair is blonde. And not only naturally so, for they also make it their practice by artificial means to increase the distinguishing color which nature has given it. For they are always washing their hair in lime water, and they pull it back from the forehead to the nape of the neck, with the result that their appearance is like that of satyrs and pans, since the treatment of their hair makes it so heavy and coarse that it differs in no respect from the mane of horses. Some of them shave the beard, but others let it grow a little, and the nobles shave their cheeks, but they let the mustache grow until it covers the mouth.
Wow. First of all, what a description. Oh my gosh, that was poetry, like a horse's mane. But so it's not that facial hair was something new. It was that they literally like talked about shaving the beard. So it's just the mustache. That is great. Where did you find that? Just on google.com?
Wikipedia.
That is beautiful. And it was almost erotic. It was almost, but not quite. Almost.
I just like the fact that he mentions satyrs and pans, which are mythological creatures, as a means of this is what they looked like.
That is so interesting. How do you spell satyr?
Satyrs.
Satyrs. So that's a mythical creature. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh yeah, they're scary looking. Sort of. And then Pan, is that the same reference from like Pan's Labyrinth?
Yeah, think Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe. You know, the half goat, half human?
Yep.
That's a Pan.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, in fact, that's exactly what it is in Pan's Labyrinth, which is such a fascinating creature that they show in that movie because he looks sort of friendly, but also very untrustworthy, and you don't know what to make of him. And that's probably, oh man, I want to read more about Pans now. But yeah, I do love that they use those references. You're right. That's pretty hilarious. Good info, John. You're dropping a few bombs on us, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I gotta say. I've yet to play the drop, but I should have many a time. All right, you want number 2 on my mustache?
Sure.
How many gray hairs are in my mustache? 0, 1, 2, or 4?
I'm guessing 0 because you picked them out.
That's a really good guess. Oh, it's a really good guess. But I want to give you a chance on this because the way I should have phrased the question without plucking them out, how many do I have? Which is now telling you that it is more than 0.
Then I will go with 2.
You're saying 2 with the hint that I think was a fair hint to give.
Yeah.
All right. 2 is correct, John, because I didn't want to, because you're right. In fact, right now you cannot see either of them. There are 2 in here. I do usually pluck them out. And it's weird because I thought about it. I was like, why do I do that? And I guess it is out of vanity. I don't, I have a little bit of gray hair up here and I don't mind going gray. I don't really want to be the kind of person that dyes his hair or uses growth product. I mean, maybe someday I will, but I'm down to let it happen naturally. But what's funny is when my mustache is not waxed, the wax actually adds a deeper brown color to it. That's not the reason that I use it, but it just does that.
Right.
There is one like strong white hair that goes right across the front of my left lip. And so when it's not waxed, you can see it. It's not like, it doesn't like pop, but if you're looking, it's like, yeah, there it is. So there's that one. And then just kind of behind it, hidden a little more, is a second one. And what's funny is I've been thinking about this quiz for a while. And so I deliberately haven't plucked it out because I wanted it to be accurate for this quiz.
Right.
So there you go. So I have 2 gray hairs, and next time you see me in person, especially if it's not waxed, you can look out. You're allowed to stare and look. I'm not going to be upset that you're looking for my gray hair because I'm talking about it openly here.
I should go count how many gray hairs I've got in my beard.
You should.
Quite a few.
I know. I noticed it at Wrigley. You have like a little patch on the side, like where the jawbone is, and it honestly, John, it looks good, man. I'm not calling you out as like, there's something about gray hair, and maybe it's the distinguishedness, but you get to be in your mid to late 30s, and it's like, hey, that's all right. Yeah, a couple gray hairs, it looks good.
Well, I mean, I'm getting quite a bit up here as well. Like it's, especially since I cut my hair, you can see them a lot more.
You can see them more. I can't see them through this camera right now, but I'm in the same boat. Like the sides of mine are getting more and more, and especially when you're in person and looking, it's like, oh yeah, there's quite a few there. We're aging with grace, John. We're aging with grace.
If you say so.
All right, you got that one right. We're both 1 for 2. Look at us go. All right,
we are.
All right,
and I got a true or false for you.
Yes.
A mustache spoon is a real thing.
I have no clue what a mustache spoon would be, and I'm pretty sure I'm just going to choose true. But the only reason I would think it might be false is if it's actually a mustache fork and you're just, throwing in a different word. But I would regret if I didn't choose true for this. So I'm saying yes, a mustache spoon is a real thing, true. All right.
Correct.
What the heck is a mustache spoon?
It's a spoon that was used in the early 1900s in Edwardian England to protect the mustache while eating soup.
It's literally a spoon that you use specifically if
So
you have
you don't
a mustache.
get soup in your mustache.
I need that. Does it still exist?
I mean, I'm sure you could find one.
I get a crazy amount of soup in my mustache when I eat soup. And I get a crazy amount of I eat a lot of peanut butter and jelly. That's the worst because like it's the jelly just gets stuck in it. But yeah, soup is a common one. Ice cream, a ton of it. So what? Did you look up images of this mustache spoon? I'm guessing you must have.
Yeah, there's one on Wikipedia, but it's.
I'm looking at them now.
So take a normal spoon and then just like add a piece of metal that goes across the top. So there's a little opening.
Yes. And it's like oh my God, I 10,000% need to get one of these. I mean, not even necessarily to use, just because it exists and it exists for me. Like not just me, but people like me with mustaches. Right. There's one that I'm looking at that it literally almost looks like it's shaped like a mustache. It's got the curves and there's a little hole and you just
like, is it on a red background?
No, this one's on a white one. And there's even there's some that come in these little packages, and there's a logo of let's see, by Reed and Barton, mustache spoon by Reed and Barton, and there's an image of a guy that looks kind of like my dad. He's got a mustache, and this is, John, you have changed my life. I did not, this is no offense, I did not expect to have this much fun with your side of the quiz. I thought mine was going to bring all the fun, but you're bringing it, John. Mine is just like, all right, cool, you got 2 gray hairs, whatever. We're talking about mustache spoons. That's, I don't feel like I can give you a knowledge bomb because it was part of the quiz, but this is the biggest John knowledge bomb that you've ever given me in my life, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Gosh. All right, well, you got a true or false also, so let's see if you can keep up and go 2 for 3 here. True or false? Kevin trims his mustache once a week. Is that true? Is that false?
Now, does that include plucking or just using like a pair of scissors or something to cut the hairs?
Yeah, scissors to cut the hair. I do that once a week. Is that true or is that false?
I'm going to say true because it's possible that you might just cut like an individual hair, which would still be technically trimming the mustache.
And you're saying I do that once a week. You're going to say true?
Yep.
All right, John. That is incorrect. Sorry to tell you.
Twice a week?
You want to know the true answer? I never trim my mustache. Literally, I cannot tell you the last time I took a pair of scissors to my mustache. And it's the weirdest thing because you're right. Occasionally, I do pluck out a hair or two. In fact, just yesterday, what'll end up happening is there's a curl at the end, and sometimes there'll be one renegade hair that kind of goes off to the wrong direction. And I can try all I want to get more wax on it and to get it to take, and I've learned it just won't. It's going to do what it wants to do in that instance. And so what I'll do is I'll isolate that one, I'll pull it loose, and I'll pluck it right out.
It's been listening to too much Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, exactly. It wants to go its own way. It doesn't want to go where everyone else is going. Outside of the occasional pluck of a few hairs, I do no upkeep or maintenance of my mustache. And, it does grow, it does get length, but it always sort of maintains about the same length. And I don't feel like I pluck hairs often enough that it should be maintaining it as well as it does. I feel like my mustache these hairs just know when to stop growing. I doubt that's true, but that's how it feels. And it's sort of, earlier when we were talking about mustache competitions, that's why I feel like this is the thickest, like the most dense and the longest that my mustache can get and still be maintainable. That's why I don't know that I can do more than what I'm doing right now with it. I can't explain it, but that's the truth.
Cool.
John, this is so much fun. Thank you for indulging me on talking about something that's it's just a mustache. It's so silly, but I'm having a blast. All right. So you missed that one. I'm 2 for 3. You're 1 for 3, right?
Yeah.
All right.
How long is the longest mustache?
Wow.
4 feet, 9 feet, 14 feet, or 19 feet?
Amazing. And am I allowed to ask the clarification question of are we measuring from one side to the other?
I don't have an answer for that, to be honest.
Okay, got it. My guess is it would be, if we're talking about the longest mustache.
My guess is tip to tip.
Yeah, from one side to the other. I mean, who knows? Maybe by official measurements, they measure from the middle to the side. But I would guess like wingspan, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's got to be longer than 4 feet. I'm going to choose one of these slightly longer ones. 4 feet, 9. You went by 5 increments. 4, 9, 14, or 19. God, 19 feet. I'm like trying to gauge. That is, if it is 19 feet, I'm not going to choose 19 feet, but I want it to be 19 feet. I'm going to play it a little safer and say 14 feet, which is insanely long still, but I'm going to say 14 feet. All right. That's insane.
Technically 14.1 feet.
Yes.
But it belonged, this is in March of 2010 when it was measured on an Italian show called Lo Show di Record. I'm guessing it's kind of like a Guinness record show. Mm-hmm. But it belonged to a guy from India by the name of Ram Singh Chauhan.
India, all right.
Yeah.
Ram Singh, what was it?
Ram Singh Chauhan.
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 I'm looking him up right now. That would make sense. Okay, so there it is. Oh my goodness. Do yourself a favor and Google this. Ram Singh. Okay, so like 2 separate words. RAM, like Ram, Singh, SINGH, and Chauhan, CHAUHAN. He literally has his mustache wrapped around his arms and he's holding them up. Mm-hmm. This is madness, John. Oh my gosh. There's a picture of him, and all respect to him. I can tell he's doing this to be crazy and silly. He's got crazy eyes in one of them, and it is the funniest picture ever. This is insane, John. So 14 feet. This is a man I would love to meet someday. And what's crazy too is if you do yourself the favor and search, it's like his mustache gets really bushy coming down like his cheek, and that's where the ends come out of. And they're dreaded. He's basically got dreads for a mustache.
Are they dreaded or braided?
Well, that's a good question. This picture, they look more dreaded, but they might. I don't know. I'm gonna hit up Ram Singh and ask him.
But something I am noticing is like there's some pictures like where he's got like this pink scarf wrapped around him. He actually his mustache is inside of that.
Yes,
he wraps it in that, and then like wraps it around his neck, so it looks like he's just wearing a scarf, and it's not as noticeable then.
And it keeps it maintained. That's so interesting. And the fact that we were just talking about how like my mustache seems to kind of know when to stop. His did not. I'd have so many questions for him, and I'm sure he gets them all the time. But like, when did you start growing it? When did you realize that it was just going to keep on growing? What did you do to maintain it at first? Like, this man is a gift to this world. All right, John. Great question. So I'm 3 for 4 now. You're 1 for 3. Let's see how you can do on number 4. Ready?
Yep.
Which color has my mustache never been? Which color has Kevin's mustache never been? And your choices are blue, white, brown, or green.
Well, we know it's not white because you keep plucking those hairs out.
My mustache has been 3 of these colors. One of them they have not. Blue, white, brown, or green. Meaning I colored them. I added color to them.
I'm going to say green.
So you're saying my mustache has never been colored green?
Yeah.
Locking it in?
Yep.
John? Great guess. I've never dyed my mustache green or colored it green. I guess I could for St. Patty's Day if I ever really felt like it. So my mustache is obviously brown, so that one was a given. It has been white outside of just the one gray hair. I was Colonel Sanders for Halloween several years back, and I grew out the goatee as well. And I was like, I bought the whole outfit, and I was like, God, I hope that I grew my goatee out for like several months leading up. I was like, I hope this works. And I just got hairspray, white hairspray, that doused my hair in and then went for the mustache and goatee, and it turned out better than I ever could have imagined. And then the other side of this story is blue. I probably told this story here before, but in 2017, this was the first time the Dodgers made the World Series in 20-something years, almost 30 years. I sprayed my mustache blue. and went to the World Series with my family, and it's one of my greatest memories. Even though the Dodgers lost that game to the cheating Astros, they literally cheated. They were caught cheating, so I'm not just saying that because I'm bitter. They literally cheated in that World Series, and it was an amazing game. It went back and forth. It went to, I believe, it even went to extra innings. It was so exciting. But they ultimately lost, and my mustache was blue for that. And it is so difficult to spray a mustache any color, because if you're picturing just you go to Party City and you get those little hairspray things. What I did is I put like a piece of paper I'm showing on the stream, but a piece of paper behind the curls and then sprayed it. But it turns out, and when you're spraying something right into where you breathe, it is insanely uncomfortable. So like, I think I had to plug my nose. It's a 2-person job, and
Right.
and just it was and then I'd spray, and then I'd have to move away from the area to like get clean oxygen. I would not recommend it. It's probably not healthy to be breathing those fumes, but yeah, it paid off when I had a colorful mustache. So there you go. All right, good job, John. So you're 2 for 4. I'm 3 for 4.
Yep.
You need me to miss this last one if you want a chance to tie me.
I do.
All right, here we go.
Which famous artist published a book dedicated to his mustache? Picasso, Dali, Rembrandt, or Van Gogh?
Well, there's one choice that jumps out at me is what I'm thinking would be the obvious guess, and I am going to choose it, but I would not be surprised if one of these other artists published a book on their mustache. None of those would surprise me. Dali is the answer that pops out. In fact, that is one of the common sort of like when people see my mustache, the Dali is pretty common. Like, oh, Salvador Dali. I would say the most common I get is Raleigh Fingers. If you don't know who that is, Google it. Raleigh is Rollie. Raleigh Fingers. He was a pitcher in the 70s and 80s and had a mustache just like this. And I want to be him for Halloween someday. I got to choose Dali, and let's see if it's right. All right.
Yep.
You published a whole book about it, huh?
Yeah, it was in the 50s, in 1954. The book is called Dali's Mustache. And it's co-authored by Dali and a photographer by the name of Philippe Halsman.
Okay.
And it's, I guess a photo interview. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, well, I'm going to be quite sure when I buy and read this book. This looks like something I have to own. The cover, it looks almost like if you put like half your face on a mirror and then move the mirror. It looks like that. It's like a one-eyed, it's a very cool piece of art, whatever this is, if it is a photo. Oh my God, John, I need to get Dali's mustache. I need to get a mustache spoon. You've opened up so many doors. I've never known any of this, and I've had a freaking mustache for 10 years. All right, John. I'm going to be spending money because of your quiz, so thank you for teaching me all this. And here's the last question for fun, since I won the episode. What is the only brand of mustache wax that I have ever used? I've only ever used one brand of mustache wax. What is it? Is it Suavecito, Burt's Bees, Clubman, or Fisticuffs? All real brands.
I feel like wax. You're a Burt's Bees.
You're feeling the Burt's Bees?
Yep.
Suavecito, Burt's Bees, Clubman, or Fisticuff. You're going to choose Burt's Bees?
Mm-hmm.
John, that is incorrect. Clubman's mustache wax is the first and only brand I've ever used. When I first had my mustache, and I did not know I could grow the curls. That was not my goal. I don't know what, I think one night I was just on YouTube or something, and I saw that people had these little, I was like, oh my gosh, I could probably do that. And so at the time, all I had was hair gel, and I tried that. And you learn very quickly when you have a mustache that hair gel does not work. It will work very temporarily. Like you can get it to like, oh, that's what it looks like. But the hair is so thick, it's much thicker than the hair on your head, that it falls apart pretty quickly. So then I'm like, well, what do people use? And I Googled mustache wax. Clubman's happened to be the first one that came up, and it's been my go-to ever since. And I've sort of thought like, well, maybe I should try something different, but it's worked so well. And in fact, John, I'm showing you, and if I make a video out of this, this is what it looks like. It comes in a little, almost like it's the same as like a toothpaste thing, but much smaller, and a little cap that screws on, and it comes with this little green comb, and it's got these little wire brushes on it that I never use. I literally never use this. I only use the green. You can hear it. It's like a comb. It's literally like a comb, and you squeeze a little bit of it out, and then I just start combing it in. And I'll tell you my whole regimen because you're asking, John. I'll comb it in one side. I'll kind of go back and forth in one side. I'll put a little more on. I'll go the other. And then I'll literally put some on and I'll comb it all the way across and get it all the way in. And then I'll do the other side, get it all the way in. And then I'll put a little bit on my fingers. And that's how and then I just kind of mold it up. And
I think we need to add a new section to our YouTube channel of style guides by Kevin. Maybe have an instructional video on that. So
you know what's interesting is it probably would get a lot of views because I've definitely looked at like how do you style a mustache. I actually never looked for instructions. I just started figuring it out. And then like a year or two ago, I was like, what if I'm doing it wrong this whole time? And I looked up videos and quite frankly, everybody has a different style. I didn't see anybody who was quite as thorough with putting the wax in as I was. A lot of people just put it on the hand and then put it on. I really like to have a lot of hold. I also will say the other thing about Clubman's that I like is it comes in different shades. So the shade that I use is chestnut, which I love it because that's just got like a warm feel to it. There's chestnut, there's brown, there's black, and then there's what's called neutral. And neutral is like a white milky kind of thing. And that would it does not hold on my mustache. That would work more for like a blonde mustache. But my hair is pretty thick on the upper lip. So I need the chestnut or the brown. The brown actually makes it look too dark. So I like the chestnut. It only adds a little bit of color. And gosh, now you're right. Maybe I need to. Maybe our Lack of Genius page will be every week I have a video of something different about styling my mustache. Well, John, I won the episode, but let's face it, we're all winners today because we now know that a mustache spoon is a real thing, and I think that's
John Knowledge Bomb.
That's going to be the greatest thing to take away from this episode for everyone, whether you have a mustache or not.
Oh yeah.
All right, John. Always a pleasure hopping on this mic with you. We're by the way, we're closing in. This is what, episode 48?
Yep.
We can do a little tease. If you recall, we did an episode 26 extravaganza because that was half a year. We're not doing any 1 year celebration, or we're not going crazy for our 50th episode. Well, we are doing a 1 year, but we're doing it based on 52 weeks because that will be a year total. And what a journey it's been, John. We're not going to get too emotional about it now because we have in about 4 weeks our 52nd episode we're going to get emotional and we're going to cry. There's going to be, I don't know what we're going to do yet, but it's going to be fun.
It might be the audience is crying because it's so boring. Who knows?
John, I've loved this journey. Looking forward to continuing it.
Me too.
Shout out to the loggers. You all make us who we are. It wouldn't be the show without you. So thanks for hanging out with us.
Oh yeah.
It's the Lack of Genius podcast in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus. That's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast. I get a crazy amount of soup in my mustache.